Good evening, all of you. I hope you all are doing well. And today in this session, we're going to study the world history part 1. So if I talk about the complete world history that we're going to study in the upcoming classes, it consists of lot of events. Okay, world history consists of lot of events, lot of revolutions, lot of wars are there. So for your exam point of view, all the things and all the events which happen in the world history, all are not important. Okay, some major events are there, some major topics and concepts are there, which are very important for your examination point of view. I am picking up those concepts and issues and teaching you thoroughly. Okay, I hope this is clear to you. If I keep on explaining each and every event that happened in the world history, then it is a never ending story. It is a year long process. Okay, so here what I am doing is we are picking up the important topics according to your syllabus and explaining it to you thoroughly. So if I talk about this particular session, so in this part 1 of the world history, we're going to study the Renaissance. It's a one concept. In fact, it's the first concept. And after that, the Industrial Revolution that took place in the Britain and overall Europe. Okay, so these two topics we are covering under this particular session. That is in the world history part 1. Okay, so I hope this is very clear to you, all of you. Okay, so let's move on. So first topic is the Renaissance. So what is the meaning of Renaissance? Can anybody let me know in the comment section? So what is the meaning of Renaissance? Try to answer, even though if you don't know exact meaning, at least what you know about the Renaissance. What is the meaning of Renaissance? You need to interact with me, guys. Then only you will understand thoroughly. See, Renaissance is nothing but the rebirth, or you can say revival. So, okay, so rebirth or revival, that is called as Renaissance. So this Renaissance took place in the Europe. Okay, so before this Renaissance, I am going to give you the brief idea of the society, how it was there in the Europe, what kind of system was there, what kind of political system was there, economical system was there, what kind of agriculture system was there. Okay, so what was the lifestyle of the people, that we need to understand. Okay, so before getting into the Renaissance and why it happened, how it happened, what all its impacts later on, so I just want to introduce you the I just want to introduce the brief about the society of the Europe before the 18th century. Okay, so before this Renaissance, there was the one system called as feudalistic system that was existed in the Europe. Okay, you might have heard about the feudalism. Okay, so feudalism is a big term. The feudalistic society was there. In the feudalistic society, it was basically the land-based economic society. Okay, so land-based society. So in that, feudal lords were there. So those feudal lords were accumulating large amount of the land. Okay, so they were accumulating the large amount of the land. So in fact, the word feud means the conditional ownership of the land. Okay, so those lords were having the large amount of the land, and they were, having the ownership of that land. So under the feudal lords, there were different classification of the society was there. Okay, so there comes the serfs, there comes the freeman. Okay, so these all are the workers under the feudal lords. Okay, so such system was there. So here in the feudalistic society, the workers were having no rights over the land. Only the owners of the land, that is the feudal lords, they had the ownership of the land. So it is one kind of a exploiting system that was existed in the Europe before the Renaissance. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. So then why this feudalistic system developed? That is the question. Okay, so this feudalistic system that has existed in the Europe in the middle period of the Europe. Okay, so in the Middle Age. So that is from 7th century to the 16th century. Okay, so 15th century. So in that 7th to 15th century, such kind of feudalistic society was there. Then why it has developed so? So that is the question here. So this developed due to the lack of single central political authority. Okay, so that time Europe was segmented into the different kingdom. Okay, different kind of kingdoms were existed. There was no single central political authority was there in the Western Europe, mainly in the Western Europe. Okay, so because of that, the feudal lords became very much powerful, and they had different land system, and they were very powerful in their own one reason. Okay, so such kind of feudalistic society was there, and classification of the feudalistic system was very much rigid. It is just like as the Varna system. that has existed in the Vedic period. It was also very much rigid system. Social mobility among the each and every class was not at all possible. Okay, such kind of system was there in the Europe. So next social evil was the church. Okay, so church has lot of issues. Okay, so in the church, the Roman Catholic Church was as powerful as the feudalistic system. Okay, the once the rulers of the Europe, when they accepted the Christianity, the Pope who headed the church, he became the head of the Christian world in the Western Europe. Okay, so church has also a lot of social issues. Okay, such kind of society was existed before the Renaissance. See, after that, these Europe world has come into contact with the Arab world for the trading purpose. Okay, in the 17th century, one important thing happened, that is emergence of trade towns and cities. So why emergence of trade towns and cities happened in Europe? Because in 17th century, 7th century, what happened? The Crusade bought Europe contact with the Arabs. So because of that, Europe people came into contact with the Arab civilization. Okay, Arab civilized people. So when two people meet each other from different civilization, what will happen? So they will exchange their thoughts, they will exchange their culture, they will exchange their knowledge. Okay, so such kind of crusade, because of that crusade, the system of the emergence of trade towns and cities started happening. Okay, okay, so I hope this is clear to you. Is my screen is can you see my screen, guys? Let me know in the comment section. Is there any wrong with my screen? Please, guys, let me know in the comment section. Is screen is visible to everybody? Am I audible or not? Okay, screen is visible, right? Okay, okay. So what happened? I told you, because of the Arabs, the trade system started happening, then towns and cities development happening in the Europe. Then because of that trade, then what happens is rise in the influence of the merchant classes. Okay, here comes the concept of middle class people. Okay, when the trade system started happening, then there comes the middle classes. Those are also called as merchant classes. So such kind of merchant classes started rising in the European society. Okay, so this is because of the trade that has arranged between the Arab countries and the Europe. Okay, so such system was there before the Renaissance. I hope this is clear to you. So next we move on to the what exactly happened in the Renaissance and what is this Renaissance is all about. So the period of Renaissance began from the 14th century and it lasted till the 17th century. So this is the rough time framework of the Renaissance. So Renaissance means nothing but the revival, or you can say the rebirth. Okay, so what kind of rebirth or revival took place? That is the question here again. So a lot of revival happened in European society, including the science and technology, sculpture, painting, literature, geography, architecture. Okay, so in each and every field, revival and rebirth happened. Okay, so because of this Renaissance. So this time period is important. So roughly you have to have an idea. The Renaissance took place between 14th century and it lasted till the 17th century. Okay, so 14th to 17th century. And it also denotes to the noteworthy modification that took place in the Europe during the transition period between the medieval and the modern period. See, whatever I have discussed before the Renaissance, I talk about the society, I talk about the trade system, I talk about the emergence of the middle classes. So these all are the part of the medieval Europe. Okay, so medieval age of Europe. So in the transition period from medieval to modern age of the Europe, Renaissance helped, okay, to transit from the medieval to the modern age of the Europe. So because of this Renaissance, growth of science, art, architecture, sculpture, painting, literature, geography, and religion were seen in this period. Okay, so spirit of humanism and idealism has developed because of the Renaissance. In fact, the main core aim of the Renaissance is the follow of humanism. So before this Renaissance, because of the church influence in the society and because of the feudalistic society, humanism was not there. Humanism is nothing but the humanity. So giving importance to the humanity. Such kind of thing was not existed in the Europe society before the Renaissance. So after this Renaissance, they are more emphasizing on the spirit of humanity and spirit of humanism and individuality. So they started questioning the divinity. Okay, so the people started becoming the rational, very rational. So they started questioning the God. Okay, they started questioning the divinity over the humanity. Okay, so they are more emphasizing on the humanism and individualism. Okay, so such kind of thoughts evolved over a period of time during the Renaissance. Okay, then the religious makeover was signified by the Reformation. Reformation is one of the movement. So because of that, lot of religious makeover happened. So because of the Reformation. Okay, so what we have studied here is Renaissance is nothing but the revival, or you can say rebirth, in different field. So if we talk about overall, the overall society itself got revived in the Renaissance phase. Okay, so I told you, because of the religious, they now started becoming the rational, because they got the middle class has evolved and they were receiving the education. Okay, because of the Arab countries contact, and the trading system was evolved, and economy was also a little bit developed compared to the previous. So because of that, the spirit of humanism and individualism has developed in the Renaissance, and that made the lot of changes in the society. Okay, so this is the Renaissance. So next is the Renaissance in Europe, where it happened. So Renaissance in Italy. So that we're gonna study. The birthplace of the Renaissance is Italy. Okay, the first place where the Renaissance took place is the Italy. Why it took place in Italy? Because Italy is the cradle of the Latin language and ancient civilization. Here people started learning about the ancient Rome and ancient Greece. Okay, ancient Greece culture. So because of that, Renaissance first time happened in the Italy. The city states in Italy like Venice and Florence patronized the literature and art. Okay, and the Renaissance movement was ignited in the city of Florence by the publication of Divine Comedy by the poet Dante. He's a very important poet. Okay, so remember his name, Dante. So he has written the poetry. The name is Divine Comedy, and this movement then spread to the elsewhere in Europe and reached its zenith in the 16th century. So we understood what is Renaissance meaning and how it started and the society that existed before the Renaissance. And here now we are studying where the Renaissance happened exactly in the Europe. The birthplace of the Renaissance is in Italy. Okay, so next after that it spreaded elsewhere. Okay, other parts of the Europe also Renaissance happened. So when it reached the zenith, it reached its peak in the 16th century. Okay, then what happened in the Renaissance exactly? The revival of the classical literature happened. The most significant contribution of the Renaissance was the research and studying of the ancient Latin and the Greek literature. Okay, so the people started studying the ancient Latin and the Greek literature. Okay, in this revival period. Then the pioneering scholar was the Petrarch. His name is very important. So remember, he's a very big scholar and the poet, the Petrarch. Okay, so he collected and compiled the works of Aristotle and Plato. So I told you people here are, becoming more and more intellectual. They were started learning the ancient Latin and Greek literature. And this Petrarch, he was a very big scholar at that time, and he started collecting and compiled the works of the Aristotle and Plato. Okay, then his students Boccaccio also promoted the classical learning. Okay, so this is the process of teaching the masses. This is the process of understanding the history. Okay, so such kind of revival took place in the classical literature. Next, many Greek scholars who came from the Constantinople spread the ancient Greek literature in the Florence. Florence and Venice are the two important cities in the Italy. Okay, that you need to remember. Next, Pope Nicholas V founded the Vatican Library in the 15th century. Okay, so remember here, Pope Nicholas V, he founded the Vatican Library in the 15th century. When he opened library, then it is, what is the purpose of this act? So the purpose of opening the library is to teach the masses, to teach the people. Okay, next, Erasmus edited the New Testament in the Greek language. So these are all the different revival happened in the classical literature because of the Renaissance. Okay. So next comes to the role of the printing press in the Renaissance. It's a very important, aspect. So printing press, made a lot of changes in the society, and it helped the people to understand exactly what's happening in the society, what scholars are telling them, what scholars are trying to teach them. Okay, so without printing press, it is impossible to reach out the masses. Because of the printing press, you can reach out the masses so quickly, because you can you can print your thoughts in the books, and you can print your thoughts in the poems, and you can spread it. Okay, so because of that, role of printing press in Renaissance is very important. Okay, even the role of printing press in our Indian freedom struggle is also very important. Okay, so printing press played the very important role. The invention of the printing press by the John Gutenberg, so remember his name. The invention of the printing press by the John Gutenberg had influenced the Renaissance literature. The first book published by the John Gutenberg was the Bible. Okay, so the Bible was the first book he published. Next, William Caxton was the first to set up printing press in the England. So these names are very important. Sometimes they might ask you in the objective type questions. Okay, so that's why I have given you the facts. So remember, the printing press was developed by the John Gutenberg. Okay, and the first book he published was the Bible. Next, William Caxton was the first to set up a printing press in the England. So later, many printing presses were set up throughout the Europe. So these printing presses provided motivation to the Renaissance movement. I told you. So because of the printing press, the scholars' thought can be easily movable in the society, easily can reach to the people. Okay, so that's why the role of printing press in the Renaissance is very important. So next, Renaissance of the literature. Okay, a lot of scholars are there. See, Geoffrey Chaucer is known as the father of English literature. So because these scholars, they started thinking differently, and they started writing the literary in a different manner. When you compare to the literary that has existed before this printing press and after the printing press, you can see the different themes. Okay, so because of that, this Geoffrey Chaucer is very well-known scholar of the London. He is the father of English literature, and he wrote the Canterbury Tales in English. Next comes the Machiavelli. So very important. Machiavelli wrote History of Florence and the Prince. Very important. So remember, Machiavelli, he wrote the History of Florence and the Prince. Then Martin Luther translated the Bible in the German language. Okay, so it's a very important work. Martin Luther, he's translated the Bible into the German language. Such kind of acts happen. So this helped the renaissance of the literature. Okay, so next is the renaissance of art. So paintings and art in the Middle Age were dominated by the Christianity, but in the Renaissance period, love of nature and the human body provided the muses to the domain. Okay, so before the Renaissance, the paintings and art were very much dominated by the Christianity. Okay, it means they were depicting God as the God, not as a person. Okay, when it comes to the Renaissance period, this got changed from divinity to the humanity. So that's why painting, even in the paintings and even in the arts, the God is depicted as the nature. The God is depicted as the symbol of love. Okay, the God is depicted as the symbol of human being. Okay, such kind of changes happened through in the Renaissance period, especially in the art and sculpture period. Next, Leonardo da Vinci. We all know Leonardo da Vinci, known as the Renaissance man. Very, very important. Remember that. Leonardo da Vinci is known as the Renaissance man. And his famous works of art were the Last Supper and Mona Lisa. We already know that. Last Supper and Mona Lisa. Next, Michelangelo was both a sculptor and the painter. Then some of his considering painting is Last Judgment as one of the best in the world. Okay, so remember, Last Judgment is one of the painting of the Michelangelo. Okay, he was sculptor also and the painter also. Such kind of renaissance took place in the art also. Okay, next comes the renaissance of the sculpture. So Lorenzo Ghiberti, so remember his name, very important. Lorenzo Ghiberti was the most important Renaissance sculptor. He created the famous doors at the Baptistery of Florence. Next comes the Michelangelo. He made the statue of David in the Florence. Next, Donatello molded the statue of Saint Mark at Venice and Saint George in the Florence. Okay, so these are the different facts you need to remember. Okay, sometimes in examination they're gonna ask you objective type questions. So because of that, these are the factual things I have put up. So if you can't remember them, please note it down. Okay, I will give you the time later. So please note it down, and you need to remember these important sculptures. Okay, so remember very important sculptures and their names. Okay, and paintings also, like Michelangelo painting and Leonardo da Vinci painting, very very important. Okay, so these revival happened in the art and sculpture period. Okay, so next is the development of science. Okay, so in the science period, lot of developments took place during the Renaissance period. Francis Bacon is regarded as the father of modern science. Okay, again the fact, remember, Francis Bacon is regarded as the father of modern science. Next, the heliocentric theory was given by Nicholas Copernicus. So what is heliocentric theory? Anybody let me know in the comment section. So what is heliocentric theory? So what is the difference between geocentric and heliocentric theory? Anybody? So what is geocentric theory? See, geocentric means Earth is at the center and other planets are revolving around the Earth. So that is called as geocentric theory. That is the false theory. So during the Renaissance period, what happened? The Nicholas Copernicus, okay, so he told that heliocentric theory is the prominent one and the geocentric theory is false. So heliocentric means the sun is the center. Okay, sun is the center and other planets are revolving around the sun. Okay, I hope this is clear to you. So this heliocentric theory was given by Nicholas Copernicus in the Renaissance period. Okay, so this happened in the science field. Okay, so because of this heliocentric theory, he received a lot of hatred from the popes. Okay, that is church heads hated him, and he's one of his disciple got burnt unto death because he supported the Copernicus. Okay, so such kind of heinous crimes happened during this Renaissance period. Okay, next, Sir Isaac Newton established that the movements of all celestial bodies were controlled by the gravitation. Okay, so it's a very important. Sir Isaac Newton, very famous scientist, we already know. He established that the movement of all celestial bodies were controlled by the gravitation. Next, laws of planetary motion were stated by the Joseph Kepler. Okay, next, Galileo Galilei, he invented the telescope. In fact, he invented telescope in 1554. Okay, so remember that. So Galileo Galilei invented the telescope, brought new evidence to support the Copernican theory. What Copernicus told? The sun is the center and other planets are revolving around the sun. But what church head were telling? The earth is the center and other planets were revolving around the earth. Okay, so when Galileo Galilei invented the telescope, so he brought the new evidence to support that Copernicus theory that earth is not the center of the this system, sun is the center. Okay, next, Cordus made ether from the alcohol and sulfuric acid. Okay, in the chemical field also a lot of changes happened, lot of invention happened. Next, carbon dioxide was discovered by the Helmont. Okay, next, Vesalius wrote a treatise on human anatomy. So these are the different kind of changes and invention happened in the science field during the Renaissance period. Next, we're going to study the results of Renaissance. So till now we have discussed that because of Renaissance, all of the inventions and changes happened. Even politically changes happened. Science in the science field also a lot of inventions came. Art and culture also changed. Okay, sculpture also changed. Okay, so these are all the result of the Renaissance in one sense. So now actually we are going to study the result of the Renaissance. The Renaissance was deemed the symbol of the commencement of the modern age. Okay, so before this Renaissance, people were living blindly. Okay, they did not have any powerful economy. The feudalistic society was there, and church was very dominant institution in this social life of the people. So because of Renaissance, people got very much intellectual. Okay, many scholars came up, and commencement of the modern age, this happened during the Renaissance. Like the spirit of inquiry has developed among the people. The spirit of inquiry means the people started, becoming more and more rational. So what is the meaning of rational? Anybody let me know in the comment section. Which person you can say he is rational or she is rational? So what is the meaning of rational person? See, rational means nothing but you can't, obey blindly. Okay, you can't blindly agree for something. What you need to do is you will ask a lot of question, then only you will agree. Okay, so that is called as rational people. Okay, so remember that the spirit of inquiry has developed among the people. People started becoming more and more rational. They are not ready to obey anything blindly. They started asking question, why, what, how it happened. Okay, so that is called as rationality. Okay, so because of that, the spirit of inquiry has developed among the people. Next, the subsequent scientific invention created the significant changes in the life of humanity. So I told you before this Renaissance, the divinity was very superior in the society. But because of Renaissance and because of different thinking, different ideology, the humanity got prominent. Okay, so who is important on this earth? Human is important. Okay, such kind of ideology came into the existence. So before this Renaissance, people were thinking that God is very important. They were thinking about the peace after the death. Okay, they were talking about the peace after death. But in this Renaissance period, the people were talking about the peace while living on the earth. Okay, so that is the main difference. Okay, so before the Renaissance, they were giving more emphasis on the God and divinity. After the Renaissance, they were started thinking about the humanity more and more. Okay, then the invention of the Marinus compass led to the several geographical discoveries. So very, very important. This compass is one of the prominent instrument in that period. It led to the several geographical discoveries. They started, started voyaging, and they started founding different continents. Because of that, different trading systems started happening. People to people contact started happening, and because of the people to people contact, exchange of the culture, exchange of the literature, exchange of the art and sculpture. Okay, so those things are started happening in the society. Okay, so these are the results of the Renaissance. Okay, I hope this is clear to you. So next we move on to the Industrial Revolution. So Industrial Revolution happened from the 1760 to 1850. Okay, so remember roughly the period 1760 to 1850. So before going into the Industrial Revolution, so now we need to study the main attributes of the free industrial Europe. Like how we studied before the Renaissance, what was the condition of the society of the Europe. Now we are going to study the main attributes of the free industrial Europe. What kind of society was there before the Industrial Revolution? Okay, so that is the main attributes of the free industrial Europe. So first is limited production. So Industrial Revolution means the starting using the machinery, and production will be so much high. So that is called as Industrial Revolution. So before Industrial Revolution, limited production was there. So because they did not invented any machinery, okay, everything was done by man. Okay, everything was done by manually. So because of that, limited production was there in the society. Okay, next, extreme agriculture economy. See, in the economy now also we will study that there are three major sectors in the economy, that is primary, secondary, and the tertiary sector. The primary sector we usually consider it as agriculture sector. Secondary is the manufacturing, and tertiary is the service sector. Okay, so before this free industrial Europe, the extreme agricultural economy was there. They were living in the primary sector of the economy. Okay, so when machinery comes, then only they use the agriculture products and make some other manufactured goods. Okay, so before machinery, how can they do the manufacturing goods? So because of that, the economy is completely dependent on the agriculture. Okay, so before the Industrial Revolution. So next, limited division of labors. In pre-industrial societies, production was relatively simple and the number of specialized craft was limited. So limited division of labor. So division of labor is nothing but what kind of labors are there and what position they are taking place. So that is called as the division of labors. if the nowadays manufacturing economy is also there, manufacturing sector is also there, service sector is also there. So now we can see a lot of division of labors. It is not limited nowadays, it is very much expandable division of labor what we have today. But we are talking about the before industrial revolution, there was limited division of labor were there, because they were all are doing only one work, that is agriculture. Okay, so because of that, limited division of labor was existed. Okay, now in the present day society, what we can see, we can see the lawyers, we can see teachers, we can see doctors, okay, we can see carpenters. So these all are the different sections of the labors. So this is called as division of labor. So before this industrial revolution, limited division of labor was there, because they had only agriculture platform, they did not have many platform to work well, to show their skills. Okay, so because of that, limited division of labor was there. Next, limited variation of the social classes, because only two classes existed, one is the lords, another one is the peasants. Okay, so lords were the one who had a large amount of the land mass, and the workers and peasants are the one who work under them. Okay, such kind of social class was existed. So that's why it is very limited variation in the social classes, only two class existed. Okay, hardly, one is lords, another one is peasants. But now in the society, you can say different number of classes, you can even say middle class. Okay, so such kind of class came into the existence after the industrial revolution. So next, the communication were limited between the communities in the pre-industrial societies. Obviously, it is obvious one, communication were very much limited between the communities in the pre-industrial society, and few had the opportunity to see or hear beyond their village. So because of no connectivity, they could not hear, or they could not see beyond their village. Okay, next, in contrast, industrial societies grew with the help of faster and cultural diffusion between them. Okay, so because of no means of communication, they did not go beyond their village. Okay, so having more information at hand about the world, allowing knowledge transfer and culture diffusion between them was very much restricted because of the communication. So nowadays we are living in the internet. Okay, internet era, now communication is not a big deal. So we are talking about the before industrial revolution, that time communication was very much difficult between the villages, okay, between the people. So that is this point. Next, population grew at substantial rates. Okay, so this happened before the industrial revolution, population grew at the substantial rates in the Europe. When it compared to the London, it was very much less. Okay, population grew that substantial rates compared to the other European countries. Okay, next, social classes, only two classes existed, I already told you, one is lords, another one is peasants. Next, subsistence level of living, the people did not have the good standards of living, they had only the subsistence level of living, because of no money and poverty was there, and they were extremely dependent on the agriculture economy. So because of that, subsistence level of living was there. Okay, next, population dependent on the peasants for food, because they did not have any other means of earning, they only knew the agriculture. So because of that, the whole population, it was completely dependent on the peasants for the food. Next, people were in villages rather than in cities. So this came only after the industrial revolution, cities started developing. So before that, all people were living in the villages. Okay, so these are the some main important points, you can say main attributes of the pre-industrial Europe. Such kind of society was there, such kind of economy was there. Okay, so next, we're going to study why did the industrial revolution started in England only. So okay, why did this industrial revolution started in the Britain itself, why not in other parts of the Europe? So we are giving the lot of reasons for that. See, following are the major factors which are responsible why the industrial revolution started in the England only, not in other part. See, world trade is one important factor. So world trade gradually increased in the centuries before the industrial revolution and provided European countries access to the raw materials and market for the goods. See, I told you after the Renaissance, what all the things happened, economical changes happened. And if we talk about the England, it was a very big colony. Okay, it colonized the England, it it colonized the India, it colonized the Africa, it colonized the China. Okay, a lot of colonies were there under the England. So because of that, they were getting lot of raw materials. Okay, raw materials from the India, raw material from the other different colonies. Okay, and they also had the market. Okay, so for industrial revolution, two things are important. One is raw material. See, industrial revolution is nothing but you are going to manufacturing something. Okay, for the manufacturing, what are important? So one is raw material, that is input, very, very important. Another one important is the output. Output is nothing but market. Okay, so these two are very important. So for England, both are, you know, very much easy for them because they had a lot of colonies. They also had the excess of raw materials from different colonies, and they also had the market for their manufactured goods. Okay, so because of that, world trade is one of the important factor why industrial revolution happened in the England only. So next is availability of the capital. So capital is nothing but the money. Okay, availability of the capital means availability of the money. The vast amount of the capital that England had accumulated out of profits of her growing trade enabled her to make large outlay on machinery and buildings. Okay, see, they had a lot of colonies and they were getting a lot of wealth from the colonies. They already had different, they already strong in the economy. Okay, the amount of capital that England got in that period of time was very much huge. So because of that, they were easily, you know, manufacturing the machinery. They were easily getting the machinery and they were easily making the buildings also. So because of that, availability of the capital was there. This is also another important reason why industrial revolution started in England. So next, the practical bent of mind of the English researchers. See, the English researchers made the huge difference in the industrial revolution. Okay, so this is a very important factor which contributed to the England's lead in the technological revolution. Okay, because the people in the London, they have scientific temper. Okay, they have scientific temper, so that's why they started researching and inventing more and more. So because of that, they came up with different kind of machineries, different kind of inventions. Okay, and they were very practical people. So because of that, the industrial revolution happened in England only first time. Okay, so these are three important factors. Some other factors are there. One is small population. See, I already told you the population when it compares to the other parts of the Europe, when it compares to the London, it was very much small. Okay, and because of that, it's very, you know, plus point for the London. Next, social and political stability. It's a very important factor. See, in any society where the social and political stability is there, then it can grow, you know, humulus. It can grow hugely. Okay, so now also you can consider the social life of the Syria people and social life of the Indian people. Which one is far better? Indian people are living happily, right, when it compares to the Syria and Afghanistan, because their social and political stability is not there. For them, you cannot go and say start industrial revolution, start manufacturing, because their social and political stability is already collapsed. But when it comes to the India, we are living peacefully because our social and political stability is there in our country. Okay, so because of that social and political stability that has there in the London, or you can say Britain, so industrial revolution happened in the London. Next, the availability of coal and iron mines close to each other, very, very important. Okay, the location of the coal and iron mines close to each other encouraged the English to evolve the new techniques for the manufacture of iron and utilization of the coals. Okay, so it is well known that the availability of coals and iron ores in large quantities greatly helped the growth of numerous industries in the London. Okay, so these minerals also helped the industrial revolution that took place in the London. So these are some 6 important factors why industrial revolution happened in London itself. Okay, so now we're going to study the effects of the industrial revolution. So first thing is economic effects of the industrial revolution. What kind of economic effect happened after the industrial revolution? New inventions and development of factories started happening. A rapid growing industry happened in the 1800, or you can say 18th century. Then increase the production and higher demand for the raw materials, and growth of worldwide trade and population explosion and expanding the labor force. Okay, then exploitation of the mineral resources. This is one bad impact. Okay, so exploitation of the mineral resource started happening. So these are some factual, and you can directly understand these effects, economic effects of the industrial revolution. So one thing is new inventions started happening, okay, development of factories started happening, and rapid growth of industry that happened because of the industrial revolution. And because of that factories, the exploitation of mineral resources started happening, that is exploitation of the environment started happening. Okay, so the carbon dioxide started increasing in the environment at that time only. Next, population explosion and expanding of the labor force started happening, and there comes the higher demand for the raw materials, because whenever the more and more factories are there in the country, then what happens, labor force and the raw materials are in the demand. Okay, such kind of thing happened. And the growth of worldwide trade, that's very important. Not only in the Europe, the worldwide trade was growing. These are some economic effects of the industrial revolution. Next is highly developed banking and investment system. Say for example, any factory is setting up, then you need capital, right? So because of that, bank is very helpful. Okay, so because of that, banking system developed, then investment system developed. Next, advances in the transportation, agriculture, and communication. See, transportation is, so these all things are linked with one another. Okay, the factory, so because of factory, mineral resource exploitation, and to make the or to set up the factory, you need bank and investment, okay, for money purpose. And if you've done all of that, you need to sell it to the other other people. So because of that, you need transportation. Okay, you need agriculture. Why you need agriculture? Because you need raw materials. So which sector will provide you the raw materials? Agriculture sector provide you the raw materials. And to understand the trade and market, what you need? Communication need. Okay, to sell it to the one person to another person, you need communication. Okay, so these all are linked to one another. Okay, transportation, agriculture, communication, factory, banking, and investment. Okay, so these all are the economic effects of the industrial revolution. So next is social effects of the industrial revolution. Okay, now as of now we have studied the economic effects. So now we are studying the social effects, how the industrial revolution affected the social life of the people. So one is increase in the population of the cities. Obviously, because the factory started happening in the cities, right? So all the people, labor force started, migrating into the cities. So because of that, the population in the cities started increasing. Now you can see the Bangalore. Okay, so a lot of people are there. Okay, why it happened so? Because they go for work there. Okay, labor force go for work. So such kind of thing happened here also, increase in the population of the cities. Next, lack of city planning. Slums started developing in the cities. Okay, so that is lack of city planning. Say for example, if the factory have set up in the any particular city, lot of factories are there. Consider the example of Bangalore only. Lot of slums are there. So why lot of slum? So that is because of lack of city planning, lack of proper city planning. Lot of people go for the work, and they don't have any proper living standard. So because of that, they're gonna live in the slums because of no money and poor city planning, lack of city planning. Okay, such kind of system was there, lack of city planning. Next, loss of family stability. Okay, so loss of family stability, how it happened because of industrial revolution? Anybody can guess it? Anybody, let me know in the comment section how the loss of family stability happened because of industrial revolution. Other points you can easily understand, but this thing, loss of family stability, how it happened because of industrial revolution? Anybody? Yes, and tell me in the comment section. You need to interact with me, guys. Think about it. How loss of family stability happened because of industrial revolution? Think about the women. I will give you hint. Think about the women and tell me the answer. See, women are, basically the major part of the family. Mother, wife, sister, be it any woman in the family, they are the very crucial part of the family. When the labor force started expanding, these women were also started going to the cities. Okay, started migrating to the cities for work. So because of that, the family stability started losing. Okay, this is one point. Another point is, say for example, in a family, mother, father, and two sons are there. Two sons will go to the work to the cities. Okay, they will go and settle there. So their parents are living in the villages. Okay, so this is also the loss of family stability. their ideology will be changed. Okay, so such kind of things started happening in the society. So because of that, the family stability was also destroying. Next, expansion of the middle class. I told you already what is middle class. It is also called as merchant class. So expansion of the middle class started happening. Next, harsh conditions for the laborers, including the children. Because whenever they move from one place to another person for another place for the work, including the children and including the laborers, what will happen? They can't adjust to the new environment suddenly. And on top of that, lack of city planning was there. Okay, so because of that, harsh condition was there for the laborers and even for the children. Next, improved standard of living, because they were getting the salary. Okay, the first thing is they were getting the salary. Now the economy moved from the land-based economy to the cash-based economy. So land-based economy was there in the feudalistic system. Okay, the economy was measured through the land, but now what they are doing, the economy is completely dependent on the cash. They were getting a lot of cashes. So because of that, the standard of living has improved little bit because of the industrial revolution. So these are the social effects. Okay, then creation of new jobs. Obviously, it is also one of the social effect because of the industrial revolution. So now is the political effects of the industrial revolution. Okay, we have studied the social effects and economic effect. Now we are studying the political effects of the industrial revolution. So one is child labor laws to end the abuses. Okay, so a lot of abuses were happening on the child in the working place. Because of that, different laws came to end the abuses of the child. Next, reforms urging equal distribution of the wealth. See, equal distribution of wealth is itself is a big concept. Okay, equal distribution of wealth is itself is a big concept. Still also people are trying and people are struggling for the equal distribution of wealth. Governments are struggling for the equal distribution of wealth. Okay, so in that time, political effect is reforms urging the equal distribution of the wealth. So now in India, what is the condition? The 1% of population are holding the 90, you can say 90% of the wealth of the India. Okay, only 1% of population is holding the 90% of wealth of the India. You can say, where is the equal distribution of wealth? Okay, so there is no equal distribution of wealth. Next, trade unions formed. Okay, so a lot of different trade unions formed to look after the disputes between the trades and to look after the development between the development of trade between the different countries and different continents. Okay, all over the world. So such kind of trade unions started happening. Next, social reform movements such as utilitarianism, utopianism, socialism, and Marxism. So these are all the different ideologies came into the effect. Okay, so these are also called as social reform movements. Utilitarianism has different ideology. Utopianism has different ideology. Socialism had different ideology. Marxism has different ideology. Communalism. Okay, so these are the different social reform movements came into the effect politically because of the industrial revolution. Next, reform bills in the parliament and the congress. Okay, so the parliament, they started establishing the new reform bill for the people. Okay, so these are all the political effects of the industrial revolution. Okay, I hope this is clear to you. So in this topic, we learned the world history part 1. If you have any doubts regarding the concept, what we have discussed today, let me know in the comment section. Any doubts?